Hi, welcome back to the channel. One of the things that I need to start off with is that my health hasn't changed a great deal. I still have the dodgy leg. Believe that repetitive strain injury is the cause of very fine structures in my tibia. That's the bone on the lower leg. And that requires lots and lots of rest and various other things. But until I start the process of getting that treated again, you might remember that I did go to the doctor many weeks ago to get it treated. The doctor got quite carried away, decided to investigate cancer of the pelvis instead, which it's important, but it became a one-track mind then. I got a phone call from said doctor 2 weeks later and say, congratulations, I can tell you that you don't have cancer. Now bear in mind, at no point did she say she was investigating for cancer. I worked that out for myself. So I thought that was extremely inappropriate. Now I did ask her, so what about the leg then? So what about the leg? I said, well, that's what I came to you to see, what you're doing about the leg. Oh, I see, she said. I thought you'd be glad of the news. So it's just like, well, yeah, obviously I am glad that I don't have something I didn't think I had in the first place. But I think that's better news for you than it is for me. So what do I do? Oh, you'll have to make another appointment. So I phoned up the reception. Can I make another appointment? Oh, no. We'll put you on the list to see a GP up to about 5 or 6 weeks. So I made a formal complaint because it got a lot messier than that. The receptionist was very rude, extremely inappropriate. So I've got this appointment on Friday. So I'm hoping she will take my self-diagnosis, as I've had plenty of time to do it, seriously as she took the diagnosis of cancer that I didn't have. To do that means I have to have an MRI on my tibia, and that will show the state of it, whether it needs treatment or not. So we'll see how that goes. However, in the meantime, I had what we now have to call a road traffic collision, because they're not called accidents, because that supposes something. And then I found out how absolutely appalling my car insurance company are. Now in the UK I have a thing called a Motability vehicle. Motability is a charity for people that claim disability benefit that I claim. We're entitled to lease, using that disability benefit amount, a new vehicle, and we keep it for 3 years. So this one's about 2 years old now. I had this accident. There you go, I've just called it an accident again, because old school like me just calls it a road traffic accident. It was an accident, let's face it, that's what happened. It was an accident. Nobody deliberately did anything, but effectively a guy decided, without checking the road conditions, just to do a 3-point turn in front of me and didn't give me time to stop. So I drove into the side of his small van at 25 miles an hour ish. I rounded it up, but it'll be about that. He was extremely apologetic, but anyway, had to make a claim. Now this is the point where yes, it affects other conditions as well as ME, but particularly ME, because ME, as you should know by now, if you don't, go and watch some of the previous videos, is a condition that is tallied with chronic fatigue syndrome, which of course is an important part. But that in itself doesn't explain the condition, but it's an important part. And what it means is the only way you can deal with your condition is to pace yourself. That when your body says rest, that you rest. You don't make excuses. You don't try and push yourself through, because that makes it worse. You just become more exhausted. And obviously, as you will know, I can't walk far. And all of that becomes a bit difficult. So I contact the insurance company, and everything from then on felt like I was doing all of the work. Can you just go outside and take pictures of your car? And it tells me what pictures to take. So I took an age to go out there and come back, and I took these pictures and I uploaded them. And the next page, oh, can you go back out to your car and take these pictures? It's just like you're not allowed to move to the next stage until you've completed this stage. So this happened 4 times, so I had to go backwards and forwards out to my car, taking pictures, getting hold of VIN numbers and taking pictures of the VIN number, telling them the mileage, but telling them the mileage wasn't good enough, so I had to go take a picture of the mileage. It was all flipping ridiculous. Thankfully I did dash cam, so that made life a bit easier. So bearing in mind at this point I've not spoken to anyone. Everything is filled in online. So it then asks were there any personal injuries. Excuse my hand going in front, holding this is actually really heavy. And it made this nice threatening tone of, you must tell us the exact truth, do not mention things that you're going to mention later, just tell us exactly how it is. So I had to mention that, yes, my leg, which was a pre-existing condition, was a problem, but it's been made worse, considerably worse, by the collision. And that was all written down in great detail. Then I had to put in the obvious whiplash injury, because, well, I did have a whiplash injury. Now I said to them, because I'm being entirely honest, look, I've got ME. If it wasn't for the fact that I'd had this accident, I wouldn't even consider this whiplash injury as a problem. In comparison to the amount of pain I'm normally in, it's nothing. It's a minor inconvenience. But no, it had to go down anyway. So all that done, they then pass that on to their solicitor. And the solicitor then starts contacting me. Now the way the solicitor works, and I'm sure they make more money out of it this way, is they send you a text to tell you that they've sent you an email. So you then look at the email and find out it's yet another form, and a form asking all the same questions as the main insurance company, even though they're copied in to the solicitor's website. So yet again, I'm filling in all of these forms about my health, and it goes on and on and on. My head was thumping like I've literally pushed through way more than it's healthy. And then when I started getting things back from them, it was, we've arranged a physiotherapist for you. Oh, and we've got you a doctor's appointment for the end of March. Can you phone the physiotherapist to make an appointment? And I thought, oh, for Pete's sake, now I've got to phone this physiotherapist. I don't think I should even be going to until I've seen a doctor about what's wrong with me, to make an appointment. So instead of doing that, I just sent the physio, found out who they were, sent them an email and explained the situation. So I've already seen the physiotherapist once, who didn't quite know what they could do, because they could feel the whiplash injury in my neck, shoulder and back, but they couldn't quite understand why it wasn't bothering me, why I was saying, well, look, I'm really not fussed about it. You don't have to do anything. I mean, if you've got a nice massage going, I'm up for that. But I'd be up for that anyway. Nothing to do with having car accidents. So we're going through that process. I've had the one appointment. They sort of put some straps on, which made no flipping difference whatsoever. I think I'll go back there tomorrow. But all the time from the solicitors, it's text message, email, text message, email. And then you always get, if you fill a form in, you don't get a text message to confirm that you filled it in. Like, I didn't know that I'd already filled it in because I just filled it in and sent it off. So, long story short, and I appreciate this is a very long story, and I apologise for the fact that the sun's moving, so it doesn't matter where I stand, I seem to end up with a half of me. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down, try and give you an all of me view. So there you go. I can't see a thing, but you can see all of me. I'm indoors and my sunglasses, so it's crazy. So I phoned up Motability, who I thought, well, they're the company that insure the vehicle, so they get Direct Line Motability involved. Direct Line Motability are the insurers. Motability were appalled by the way I got treated. And they said, well, that's not acceptable, even for just our customers that can't walk, let alone the ones that get exhausted if they walk with a lot of pain. But they couldn't actually deal with the complaint. So I then had to phone the insurance company yesterday and complain to them. And as soon as I mentioned the solicitors, oh no, you're going to have to complain to them. So I got a little bit impatient with the chap and I just said, well, I'm sorry. I didn't engage these solicitors. You gave me no choice to engage them. You just told me who I had to have. So you engaged the solicitors. Your solicitors are doing a terrible job. You need to contact them yourself, because one of the things they have not done at any point is, even though I wrote down my leg, which is the most painful part of what happened that day when I had the collision, they acknowledged it and they haven't done anything about it. Not a thing. They didn't say to the physiotherapist, oh, have a look at the leg, or speed up the doctor's appointment, say, have a look at the leg. No, they're just leaving that, which, as I said, to me has been the most disabling. That has made my walking significantly worse. I think last night, bearing in mind that's nearly, well, certainly pushing 2 weeks, it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow since this accident. Last night was the first night I had a reasonably decent sleep, which was way more luck than design. Every other night I've been waking up every 2 hours in agony. I think last night went particularly well because one of the words of advice I read was put a cold compress on it. It also says use heat, but it says that cold compress was probably better. Well, I had that on my leg for 5 minutes and I don't kid you at all, I was in absolute agony. I was crying with the pain. I think it's the level of pain that I went through then, shortly before I went to bed, that got me through the night, because I think my body was saying, well, at least it's not what it was earlier, let's just carry on. But you shouldn't have to deal with pain by going through more pain. And this, of course, is why the shoulder problem to me is nothing, because it really isn't. So today, I'm up and about today because all this week I've been putting off deliveries because I didn't want them coinciding with everything else I've had to be doing. But of course, they're now all going to turn up at different times. We've got one particular delivery company, which is Every, and that's totally hit and miss. Sometimes he just takes a picture outside and says sorry to have missed you when you're standing behind the door waiting for the doorbell. And other times he'll chuck it over the back garden. Or sometimes he'll actually ring the doorbell and let you answer. Totally unpredictable. So anyway, I've got to wait in for that. Hopefully they all turn up quite early and I can actually have a rest. It's now 20 past 10 in the morning. All of the medication I've had from 7:15 this morning has long since stopped working. So I'm getting a huge amount of pain from my right leg. It sort of feels like I'm having my skin ripped off whilst trying to walk with a nail banged into my shin. Yeah, it is that painful, thanks. So I can't find out anything more until Friday. I suspect on Friday that rather than agreeing to give me an MRI, she'll tell me to go for an X-ray. That will save her some money, I guess. It won't cost her more money in the long run. But it will cost me 2 weeks of wasted time because X-rays don't show up what I think I've got. It has to be an MRI. Which of course is what happened with her alleged cancer. She sent me for an X-ray, it showed a shadow on my pelvis, and then she had to get me to do an MRI to be more clear. And they also told me a few weeks ago at the doctor's surgery I had arthritis. I asked what kind, she said she didn't know. And now a different receptionist is telling me, well, I can't find any reference to arthritis on your file. And it's just like, I'm just getting sick of this. It's just like, my doctors are so incompetent and borderline negligent. But that's the way of GPs in the UK. I've got family members that went to their GP with very, very serious conditions that required immediate surgery. And the GP failed on several attempts to pick it up. They just kept saying, oh no, you just strained your back. Probably exercising too much or whatever. But no, actually, they both needed surgery. One of them's now permanently disabled because it got left too long. If he'd had the surgery earlier, he would have made a complete recovery, but no, they left it too long. And the other one, thankfully, should make a full recovery because she had private health cover, so was able to go private. But how bad is that? People say how wonderful the NHS is, but sure, they try not to let people die, but life-changing situations, yeah, they're happy with that because they've not got to live them. So anyway, I'm going to leave this one here because I'm in a huge amount of pain, and even holding this phone is becoming difficult. Thanks for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe. It really does make a difference. I don't actually have subscribers at the moment. Actually, I can't remember. There might be one. And if I don't get subscribers, then YouTube's algorithms work out that nobody's watching the video, nobody's interested, so they don't promote it. But every time I get subscribers, the channel gets promoted and more people see it. And at the end of the day, that's what we want, isn't it? We want people to be more aware of ME. We want people to be aware of how it affects us on a daily basis, and we certainly want people to know the prejudice that surrounds the condition. Whether it'll ever change depends on you guys liking and sharing this video. The more people publish similar content or even respond to mine, the greater the chance that something might change. We'll see. You take care for now, and I'll see you next time.